Okay, so welcome everybody to the latest episode, if you like, of our series on Israel's LGBT organizations explained. So this week I'm very proud to welcome Jonathan Danilowitz, and he's going to be talking about Tehila, which is an organization, Tehila, which is an organization that he started, he founded, which is effectively my understanding is that it's effectively the Israeli equivalent of PFLAG, parents and friends and family of lesbians and gays. So welcome to you, Jonathan. Thanks for joining us. So how are you doing, first of all?
Good. Hanging in there.
Excellent.
Under the circumstances, everything's fine. Thank you, Roy. How are you?
Very good, thank you. So I just wanted to ask, first of all, you're an Ole. Yes, I understand you're from South Africa. So just wondering if you can tell us, how long has it been since you made Aliyah?
I came in 1971.
Oh, wow.
So it's pushing 50 years, I would say. 48,
Excellent.
49 years, something like that.
Fantastic. And whereabouts in South Africa are you from?
I was from a small town near Johannesburg, a town about 30 miles away from, 50 kilometers away from Johannesburg, which is where I grew up, small town.
Lovely.
But let's say the Johannesburg area, nobody would have heard of this town unless you were from South Africa.
Fair enough, from Joburg, yeah. So you must have been very young when you made Aliyah, yes? You made Aliyah on your own?
No, I wasn't very young. I was 27.
Okay. So now you've told everyone how old you are.
Yes. Okay.
Fantastic.
So everyone can do the maths, yes.
So tell us about Tehila. Firstly, what does it stand for? And why did you start it?
Tehila is the Hebrew acronym for... are you still there?
Yes, we have. Your video froze for a second, but we can still hear you.
I can't see you.
I think we might be having internet issues.
That could be.
Can you turn your video? Is there a stop video button? You can stop it and start it again.
Well, can you see me?
Yes, but you're frozen.
A stop video button.
Yeah,
no,
tap
I've
the screen.
got a close button.
A what?
A button that says close.
No, you don't want that one. Just wondering what it's asking you to close. Actually, click close. It might be something else unrelated that's stopping your video running.
Oh, there I can. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Excellent.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, these things happen.
Okay, now I've lost you completely. Video. There.
I can see you.
All right. I think we need to start your video again. Can you press? Is there a video button? Start video. The wonders of modern technology.
It's on your lower left. Hi, Steve. But I don't see that.
Resume the recording. Excellent. We got there. So we can see you. So we were talking about Tehila. How can tell us what it stands for?
The name. Yes, Tehila is the acronym for the Hebrew words Timichat Horim Shel Lesbiot V'Homosexualim, which literally means support. Not literally, but it translates as a support group for the parents of lesbians and homosexuals. And part of why it's not LGBT is because when it started over 25 years ago, nobody spoke about transsexuals, and very few people mentioned bisexuals. So it was lesbians and gay men and lesbians.
And I think, and in fairness, I think PFLAG groups around the world are still referred to as PFLAG. They haven't added the rest of the acronym, so it's all good. Right. So what was it that what motivated you to start Tehila?
Well, it started when I happened to be in New York one summer Sunday morning, and I heard that there was a gay pride parade. So I went down to Fifth Avenue to watch the parade. And of course, there were hundreds or dozens, hundreds of groups of various kinds of people, whether they were policemen or lawyers or bus drivers or bank employees or teachers or whatever. And one of the groups was PFLAG. And not as a participant, as one of the audience, one of the people watching the parade at the side of the road,
Mm-hmm.
I was amazed at the reception that the PFLAG group got, because every group was welcomed and there was applause and screaming and shouting and waving. But when the PFLAG group came, the noise was just overwhelming, and I realized that so many people simply were so proud that parents could have been there. I'm talking about something like 30, maybe 35 years ago, and they were absolutely overwhelmed that there were parents supporting their children. And I thought to myself, that's something that needs to be done in Israel. My mother was still alive at that time. She knew that I was gay. She'd had her issues with that, although she tried to be very, very fair and open and accepting. But I knew that she struggled a lot and had suffered quite a lot. And I knew that the same was happening with parents of friends of mine. And I came back and I decided that I was going to make an effort to start this group in Israel, which
Fantastic.
I did by putting a notice in a newspaper once or twice, renting a hall, and asking people to come. And just to make sure that there were some warm bodies in the hall, I invited some friends of mine, just friends who happen to have children, but no connection to the LGBT community, just to be there so that people would see other people. Well, as you can imagine, there were very, very few people, but that was the seed, the garin, as we would say in Hebrew. And people joined. There was obviously a need. Some had come. There was one man in the lobby of the building where I rented the hall, and I asked him if he had come to the meeting of parents. Of course, I didn't dare say the word gay or homosexual. And he said he would come, and yes, and he hung, and he wouldn't really answer me, but he said yes, but he never walked into the meeting. So obviously he wanted to, but that was the kind of feeling that people had. And we had our first meeting. We were assisted by a local organization, a self-help organization. It was quite complicated because we had no money, we had no organization, no office, telephone, post office box. But there was this organization, it might still exist in Israel, that helps self-help organizations. And that was exactly what we wanted to be, a self-help organization. And they offered us a place to meet on a monthly basis.
Wonderful.
And the kickstart was when a well-known magazine here in Israel got hold of me and ran a full article. They interviewed me, ran a full article about me. I had some fame at the time, so they were very interested in fame, I should say, infamy, not fame. They were interested in talking to me, and they gave the telephone number of this major self-help organization who were happy to take calls for us. And so that's how we got started, slowly, bit by bit. In the beginning, I was the facilitator. There was no psychologist, no psychiatrist, no social worker, no professionals. And of course, I'm not a parent. That's how we started.
Okay, fantastic. So what kind of people, I mean, what kind of parents were coming along for those first few meetings?
One woman I remember in particular came in with a huge sun hat covering most of her face, dark glasses. She wouldn't say a word because the meetings were run on a system where people were told that it was you ask the questions. There's no professional psychiatrist, psychologist who's going to give you the answers. You're going to get answers to your difficult questions from the people sitting around you. And each one of us had a chance to, as I said, I was the facilitator. Each one of them had a chance to talk. Some would say their names, some wouldn't. Some would say why they were there, what they were feeling. They would ask others the questions that were bothering them so much. And this particular woman would not say a word.
Wow.
She kept her sunglasses on. She kept her hat, her big hat down. It was impossible to identify her. So that was one type of woman. On the other hand, we had Dvorah Luz, whose name you might or might not know. She's no longer alive. Dvorah was one of the few people who, when she phoned me, because my telephone number eventually appeared here and there in newspapers and magazine articles, she introduced herself right away and she said, my name is Dvorah Luz and I'm interested and I have a gay son and etc., where most of the other people would not, if they would just give me their first name and they would certainly not leave a telephone number. They wanted information from me and I could not contact people, most of them. Dvorah was very open and she became instrumental in helping Tehila get organized. Anyway, we went from there, we met other people, we met people who were professional, even whether they were parents of gays or not, who were ready to help us. Eventually, a woman who was a sex therapist or sex expert, I'm not exactly sure, she had lectured in sexuality in the university, and she came to our meetings, which were then only in Tel Aviv once a month, and she was the facilitator, and that was very good to have a professional. Again, she did not give the answers. The answers had to come from people sitting around. Mostly mothers, few fathers, a few brothers and sisters. And we decided that we were going to open the group to more than just parents, although the name is defined as parents of. And eventually we had a committee running. We had regular committee meetings. We expanded to other cities all over the country now. 25 years later, there are meetings all over the country. There are meetings, in fact, the latest group to open is in a religious town on the other side of Jerusalem, a group meeting for the religious parents of gay and lesbian people or LGBT people. The need is everywhere. We have not succeeded in entering the Arab community, the Muslim community. None of us speak Arabic, unfortunately, and they are very, very closed and very, very unwilling to open up to. We've had a few contacts, but nothing has ever come from that. But there you were, we're in the religious community, we're in the secular community, but not yet in the Arab community.
Okay. And so do you think things have changed? I mean, have you noticed, have you seen changes over the last 25 years? I guess initially, what was it, 25 years, it was 1995. So already things were starting to change here, I guess. There were already pride marches in 95, I think. Is that correct? And so it wasn't the shock that it once was, maybe? I mean, have things evolved?
The first Pride March, if you can call it that, was in 1979. It wasn't really a march. It was more of a demonstration in Tel Aviv. But we kept marching because we needed a police permit to have a march or demonstration, or rather we needed a permit to have a demonstration, but we could have a march without a permit, or get a permit much easier. So we just walked around and around, kept with signs, of course, and that became the first ever gay pride march in Israel, and in fact in the entire Middle East.
And I guess it was still illegal in those days as well.
Oh yes, it was still illegal.
Yeah, wow, very brave. You could have ended up in a jail cell.
It was part of a world conference of LGBT groups, an international conference that was held in Tel Aviv.
Wow.
And that was part of the conference that we had this march.
Fantastic. Okay.
So yes, things have changed. Things have changed a lot, Roy, as you
Definitely.
know.
Yeah.
You've been here a couple of years already, more than a
Mm-hmm.
week or two, I would say. And it's much better, particularly in Tel Aviv, where you live, but also in Jerusalem, where I live, and all over. As I say, Tehila now operates throughout the country.
But I mean, obviously, there is still a need for Tehila. Some parents still do struggle when they find out that they've got an LGBT child. So, I mean, has the response changed, or how has it evolved, do you think?
I think once upon a time, almost without exception, every parent who discovered they had a LGBT child, L or G or B or T, it was as if the ceiling had collapsed, the sky had collapsed, almost without exception. It was the end of the world. They saw the future of their child as miserable, lonely, sick, unemployed, unemployable, and of course the parents themselves would not have grandchildren, as they knew in quotes. They would not have grandchildren. It was a terrible tragedy for them. Today, I meet so many people who say to me, yeah, my son is gay, but that's, he's got a lovely boyfriend. They already have children. They're going to have children. He's married. She's doing this, that, or the next thing. It's no longer an issue for many of these people. It's just one of those things. Like my son has got blue eyes and brown hair, and that's fine. He's going to be okay. He's doing well in his job. He's doing well at university. So that's much more common. On the other hand, there are still parents who are struggling, who cannot understand why this curse has happened to them and why their child is destined to suffer for the rest of his life.
Yeah, there's still a lot of negative attitudes out there.
I beg your pardon?
So there's still negative attitudes out there.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So it's great that you guys are there to help them through the process. So how do you, it's just a talking? Do people, once they've, the parents that have come to terms with it, do they continue coming to meetings? Do they help mentor new people that come to the group? How does that work?
Some do and some don't. It's part of the failure of Tehila that we never really kept records. Part of it was because people did not want to be identified. And so we just didn't identify anybody. It didn't matter. As long as the person wanted to come, we were happy that they came. We didn't keep records. We didn't make them pay. There wasn't a membership. Only much later we decided that there should be, and people should have some kind of commitment. So it's like a patient, if I could make the comparison, a patient going into hospital, goes in, is treated, is cured, leaves, and has no more connection with that hospital. And that's very often what happens with parents in Tehila. There are many others, and those are the golden volunteers that we have, who stay and are the people who come to the meetings. And when a new parent comes and says and asks the question, how on earth am I going to tell my cousins? How am I going to tell my brother? How is my mother going to understand that her grandson is gay? It's the end of the world for me. What will the neighbors say? And then they get the answers from other people who've been there before, who've told their neighbors, who've told their grandmother, and who've discovered that it's really not the end of the world, and that actually the grandmother knew all the time. That happens so often. That everybody else should come out of the closet. Everybody else, but my case is special. My brother will never understand. My mother will never accept this.
Yeah,
but of course, it's not. It's the same for almost the same for everyone. Everyone's parents discover that it's not the end of the world.
Mm. That's what they say, isn't it? I mean, we have, I wouldn't say a lifetime, but we have many, many years in the closet, and we decide when we are ready to come out. And the parents don't get the warning; they just get told, and they have their own coming out process. So I can, it's very difficult. It can be.
The saying is that as soon as the child comes out of the closet, the parents are forced into the closet, and they have their own process of coming out as well. First, they tell one person, and then another. And slowly it comes out, and they discover that the end of the ceiling doesn't collapse. It happens time and time and time and time again. And each one of them thinks that their case is different, that nobody else has been through what they have been through, and that nobody else can understand how difficult it will be for their particular family to accept.
Interesting.
And time and time again, we discover that it's easy.
Fantastic.
The dark closet is worse than coming out into the open. We went through this, all of us, as you said, as gay people coming out of the closet.
Do you think the goals of the group have changed at all, or
in the beginning it was Tehila, parents and friends of lesbians and gays. Subsequently, it expanded to include bisexuals and transsexuals. And I have to admit that in the beginning, I was against us expanding into, especially into transsexuals, because my thought were these parents are so petrified and so afraid of just lesbians and gays. If we include trying to encourage them to accept transsexuals, it'll frighten them off even more. Because, well, I was wrong, and that I should, but in the meantime, wiser people than me, other members of the organization, persuaded me that we should include all kinds of people, whether they're bisexual or transsexual or transvestite. We are there for them, for their parents, rather. And there are now special groups for parents of transsexuals.
Okay,
a separate group, yes, within the framework of Tehila.
And do parents ever bring their LGBT child along to meetings as well, or is it strictly, parents and family only?
As it happens in Jerusalem, the group has decided they do not want children present.
Okay.
In most of the other cities, most of the other groups, they are encouraged to bring their straight children or their gay children or lesbian children as well. Sometimes there are too many people, and that makes it difficult for others to talk, because most people want to have their say, want to be heard. If there are too many people in the group, it cuts down the possibilities. But each group is independent. They're in the framework of Tehila, but they make their own decisions. As I say, in Jerusalem, their decision was children are not welcome at that group.
Okay. And have you found over the years, because it's been in the news recently, the ex-gay therapies, have you come across parents that want to fix their kids, turn them straight?
Yes.
That's the solution that they think is...
The kids are sick in their mind, and they want to heal their kids. They want to send them to a hospital or to a therapist, so to speak, who will heal them. We also, by the way, have, Tehila has an organization called, let me see, the name in Hebrew is Horeb Cafe. I guess a coffee hour with a parent, which is where a child, an LGBT child, is seated in a casual situation over a cup of coffee, as the name implies, excuse me, with a parent of another gay child, to find out should they tell their parent, how to tell their parent, when to tell their parent, if to tell them, and to have an open conversation with a person who is actually a complete stranger to them.
So this is somebody who's in the closet talking to parents whose child has come out of the closet to them. Okay, yes. That's interesting.
And
okay.
Yes, they want to know whether they should and how they should, and if and when, and if they could get help in doing that. And that's when I came out to my own mother, I didn't know how to do it, and I was petrified. I was absolutely petrified. You know, the biggest obstacle in the life of an LGBT person is, well, how will my parents accept me? Once you cross that obstacle, all the rest is easy. And it came at a time when I have got a sister and two brothers, and I told each of them, and each of them had said, do not ever tell our mother, she will never. But there came a time when I just couldn't go on pretending. I didn't know how to tell her. And eventually I waited until she wasn't in Israel. She had gone back to South Africa to visit. And I wrote her a letter and told her. And I told her in a letter, I just didn't have the wherewithal in me to meet her face to face. I didn't know what to do. And that's how I did it. So people can get advice from people, for other people who've been there, done that, seen it all, heard it all. I don't say they know it all, because none of us know it all. But the young people can get advice on all these things of coming out of the closet to their parents.
Nice. I've heard.
Roy, you do a lot of the good work with the LGBT or LIM. And I hope that it makes a difference to them, knowing that Israel is so welcoming, Bichlal, in general, and for LGBT people in particular as well.
Absolutely. We were talking to a couple of people from IGGY last week. They, Eitan and Linda, and they run an IGGY group, so that's Israeli LGBT youth. But it's an English speakers group for, for people that have made Aliyah, either with their families, or they've come here as lone soldiers, or they've just moved here, and they're young. I mean, they cover like 18 to 23-year-olds. And so it's great that there's a group in English so that they can meet other people and again, come to terms with it and find out about the community here as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
well,
that's great.
IGGY, which is, for those of people watching who do not know, IGGY is Israeli Gay Youth. The other side of the coin of Tehila. It's the exact head on the other side of the Tehila coin, and we have a lot of cooperation with them.
Oh, fantastic. That's good to know.
Yes, as it should be. Yeah.
Okay. So do you also have a support line? You said your phone number used to be, the one that was advertised. Is there like an official phone number that people can call these days?
There is a number. I was hoping you're not going to ask me.
No, don't worry. We can sort it out and we can put it on the video afterwards. I'm not expecting you to just give me the number off the top of your head. But it is a support line. People can phone.
There is
they can talk to someone.
Yes, and there is a Facebook page as well, Tehila, with comments in Hebrew. I think there's one in Hebrew and in English. I'm not too sure.
Okay.
But there is a Facebook page and there is a support line, and people can phone in and get help in Hebrew or in English.
And so I guess it varies from location to location, but how frequently do the groups meet up these days?
Usually every month,
okay,
if not more often, yeah. And in some cities, there's more than one group.
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay, that is amazing. Cool. So I'll ask you if you've seen changes in attitudes. I guess, like you said, some parents just come to terms with it or are expecting it or see the signs before the child comes out. And I guess those parents may or may not come to Tehila. I guess it depends how they feel about it. But, it's great that you're there for the families that aren't coping. Do you come across parents that have, kicked their kids out? Or is it still just like a Cold War situation at home? It's just not talked about?
It's rare, but it has happened. It's and more rare these days. But it has happened. As you know, in Tel Aviv, there's the
bed drawer. Yeah.
Bed drawer, exactly.
That's right, yeah.
Which you might want to explain to the listeners.
No, we had a session with Avi Sofer the other week. So bed drawer is the crisis housing for youth at risk.
Yeah, youth at risk, and many of them who have been thrown out of their own homes.
Absolutely, yeah, it's tragic.
Very, very valuable organization supported by the municipality of Tel Aviv.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Good stuff. The other thing I wanted to ask you, I understand that back in February, the city of Tel Aviv awarded you, what is it called? The Yakir Ha'ir, the darling of the city. Is that correct?
I wish I knew the exact translation, but it's something like an honorary citizen, or you get the key of the city, or something like that. That's the concept. But
Fantastic.
literally, yes, the city darling or something like that. One of 12 people, yes. Every year, 12 people are awarded Yakir.
Fantastic. That's an amazing honor. So what did he get that for?
What do I want?
What did he get it for? What was the reason for the award?
Oh, well, I've done a lot of volunteer work in Tel Aviv, mostly with the environment, and also because of this lawsuit that I had instituted a long time ago, which changed the way people view minorities in Israel, including the large minority, which is not a minority of women. And it changed to the way human rights and civil rights are seen. And I think that the city of Tel Aviv appreciated that. And,
fantastic. This is the lawsuit against El Al, correct?
Right, exactly.
So if I remember correctly, you sued El Al because you weren't being given the same, or your partner wasn't being given the same rights as a heterosexual partner would have been given, correct?
Exactly. And the heterosexual partners did not have to be married. They had just a legal civil law spouse. Okay. And I had a civil law spouse as well, and I wanted the same rights for him. So that's why I sued El Al. I actually sued them a second time.
What was the second time for?
Yes. When I wanted to be in the law in Israel is that you are an employee is entitled to work in a smoke-free environment, and working on the planes was certainly not smoke-free.
Not in those days, yeah.
Of the smoking, and so I sued El Al to make smoking prohibited on aircraft.
Good on you. Thank you very much.
Got to court. They followed it up pretty soon, and as a result of that, no airline landing in Israel can permit smoking. But that's now a worldwide thing. But at the time, it was.
Wow, that's amazing. But the first case, you took all the way to the Supreme Court. I think El Al lost and appealed, and they lost and appealed. I don't know how many levels there are. And it ended up going to the Supreme Court.
Right.
And they lost there as well.
And they appealed there, and they lost there as well. Yeah.
They really tried their hardest, didn't they?
They tried their hardest. I don't know why, but they did, yeah.
So it's technically because of you that same-sex couples have equal rights in terms of employment and benefits. Oh, I think we've lost you again. Oh, no, you're there. No, your microphone's gone funny. We can't hear you.
How do I join the video?
No, you're perfect. No, you're in. It was just something funny for a second. You're back. Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, no, I can hear you. So let's carry on. Yes, perfect.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
I can't really hear you, I'm afraid, Roy.
Okay, so carry on with your answer. You were saying that El Al lost. I don't know why the volume's changed. That's a shame. So you sued El Al?
Can one of the people watching tell me what to do to get back to?
You can try stop and start the audio if you like. Is that any better? Oh, now we've lost your video completely.
I can hear you at the background, but not like I could hear you before.
I'm not quite sure. But we can hear you fine.
A sign that we should quit this interview.
Fair enough. Okay, maybe it's a good time to wrap up. All right, lovely. Thank you very much, Jonathan, for your time and for telling us all about Tehila. I would have loved to hear more about the court case against El Al, but I'm very glad you won.
Some other time. Roy,
Absolutely.
thank
yes.
you for having me on your show.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Good luck. And to all the LGBT people who want to come and live in Israel, do it.
Good stuff.
All the
right,
best.
lovely. Thanks very much, Jonathan. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.